Member for Shuswap, please.
Well, thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I'm honoured to stand and speak to this motion. The wildfire season is among the most devastating in our recent history. 1,610 wildfires displaced more than 33,000 people, according to Emergency Management BC. That's nearly 5.5 times the number of people that were forced from their homes in 2018, and twice as many compared to 2017. My own riding of Shuswap endured many of the hardships and anxieties that many communities faced as some of BC's most destructive fires threatened our region, including the 2 Mile Road Fire, the Bunting Road Fire, the Hanaqua Fire, Crazy Creek Gorge Fire, and the White Rock Lake Fire. My own residency in Sicamous, my family was actually on evacuation alert for a 2-week period, and fortunately, largely due to the amazing hard work and dedication of the BC Wildfire Service, that fire did not actually come into the community, and there was no structures lost. Unfortunately and sadly, the White Rock Lake Fire, which had a significant and devastating impact on the West Side Road along Okanagan Lake, the Okanagan Lake Indian Band, had some devastating losses. Their grocery store, hardware store, was actually decimated by the fire. There was over 500 band members that were actually out of their homes for over a 30-day period. And along West Side Road, there was actually 2,500 residents that were actually evacuated from their homes for an entire 30-day period. Many of the businesses in that area had devastating losses because the West Side Road was actually shut down for over a month-long period. So the impacts of the structural losses is one component, but the business losses are also extremely significant. If anybody has driven on Highway number 1 heading east towards Calgary, the Three Valley Chateau, it's an amazing resort development right on the side of the Trans-Canada Highway. There was a fire that erupted there back in July, and their business was shut down for a full 30 days. For 30 days, they lost their receipts. Now, this is a seasonal business. It only operates basically from May until October. But losing that 1 month of the season, as well as all the negative publicity around the Three Valley fire, just absolutely devastated their ability. And it wasn't just the business itself, but obviously all of those local residents that actually worked in that facility. So the significant impacts of these fires have far-reaching implications, not just on the fires and the actual structural losses themselves, but also the impact on the negative business activity. The Crazy Creek Fire, and this is one area that I hope BC Wildfire Service will pay more attention to in the future. There's a Crazy Creek Hot Springs. There's a small resort development, 2 different businesses there. Because the name of the fire was attached as a Crazy Creek Fire, even though the fire was nowhere in proximity to these facilities, all of the media attention indicated that it was a Crazy Creek Fire, and they had cancellation after cancellation after cancellation. And they were put in a place where they were having to try and defend the fact that the fire was actually on another ridge, many, many miles away, not actually even impacting their facilities. And yet they also had financial hardships and losses associated with that. The other piece, Mr. Speaker, that I think is worthy of conversation is the impact on people's mental health. We all know the impacts of COVID, having to self-isolate or even quarantine in your housing. And we finally got to the point where I think British Columbians were feeling safe to go out with the vaccinations. And if I can speak from a personal nature, my stepfather has COPD. And he got to the point where finally he was double vaccinated, felt safe to get out in the community. And then we had the wildfires. And we were actually choking on the smoke. The air quality was 17 times worse than the recommended level by World Health Organization. And so my stepfather, again, because of all the smoke, was again self-isolating inside his home for about a 45-day period. So there's many, many impacts of these fires. And just in closing, Honourable Speaker, I think it's also worth talking about what's happened with BC Wildfire Service. They seem to be moving away from putting fires out and more from trying to manage them. And I certainly appreciate it's a very daunting endeavor. But when we have a look at the impacts on climate change, I saw some stats here this morning indicated that the 2018 wildfire season, 237.4 megatons of emissions emitted from forest management in BC. And the total emissions from all man-made causes, only 68 megatons. 78% of the emissions of British Columbia are not reported under our current climate action.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you.